Hello, my friends. Today's question is, are genes related to the body only? The simple answer is yes, that is true. Genes have nothing to do with the soul. It has to do only with our physical existence, that is, our body, which is our carrier. And you all know by now that we are not bodies, we are actually souls, the drivers of this body. Our true self is soul. Let's discuss briefly what is body. The body is also a creation of God and is provided to the actual personality, that is soul. And this is a carrier. It acts as a carrier for the soul, the true self, for a limited time to use. The body acts on the principle of survival of the self and survival of the species, just like other animals. For the survival of the self, the human beings eat, drink, and make shelter, whereas for the survival of the species, the male and female act instinctively, mate, and procreate. I may also mention here the term nafsul amara mentioned in Quran refers to this sexual instinct. I mean the instinct related to the survival of the species. Let's discuss a few more things about human body, which is our carrier for the soul. Each cell of the body typically has 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs of chromosomes. Half of these chromosomes come from the mother and the other half come from the father. Chromosomes are made up of long strands of DNA that contain all the body genes. I thought this would be helpful in terms of understanding where genes reside in our body. Let's discuss some of the verses from Quran which talk about the creation of this body. The first verse is from chapter 39, verse 6. It states, "He makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages, one after another, in 3 veils of darkness." Now a few words about this verse. We do not know when it was realized that human beings underwent development in the uterus, that is womb. But the first known illustration of a fetus in the uterus was drawn by Leonardo da Vinci in the 15th century. In the 2nd century AD, Galen described the placenta and fetal membranes in his book on the formation of the fetus. Consequently, doctors in the 7th century AD likely knew that the human embryo developed in the uterus. It is unlikely that they knew that it developed in stages, even though Aristotle had described the stages of development of the chick embryo in the 4th century BC. The realization that the human embryo develops in stages was not discussed and illustrated until the 15th century. After the microscope was discovered in the 17th century by Leeuwenhoek, descriptions were made of the early stages of the chick embryo. The stages of human embryos was not described until the 20th century. Let's discuss a couple of more verses from Quran which relate to the body. I mean relating to the creation of our body. In chapter 23, verse 13, Allah says, "Then we placed him as a drop in a place of rest." The drop or nutfa has been interpreted as the sperm or spermatozoon, but a more meaningful interpretation would be the zygote, which divides to form a blastocyst, which is implanted in the uterus, that is a place of rest. This interpretation is supported by another verse in the Quran which states that a human being is created from a mixed drop. The zygote forms by the union of the mixture of the sperm and the ovum, that is, the mixed drop. Let's look at one more verse which will give us some more information as to how the human body is developed in the womb of a mother. This is from chapter 23, verse 14. It says, "Then we made the drop into a leech-like structure." The word alaka refers to a leech or bloodsucker. This is an appropriate description of the human embryo from days 7 to 24, when it clings to the endometrium of the uterus, in the same way that a leech clings to the skin. Just as the leech derives blood from the host, the human embryo derives blood from the decidua or pregnant endometrium. It is remarkable how much the embryo of 23 to 24 days resembles a leech. As there would be no microscopes or lenses available in the 7th century, doctors wouldn't have known that the human embryo had this leech-like appearance. So this was something I thought of sharing regarding the body. Now let's talk about our true self briefly. What are we? We are souls. We are invisible beings. I think we need to remind ourselves that we are not bodies. Bodies are merely our carriers. So let's talk about our soul now, our actual personality. This is a spiritual being which is a non-matter, complete personality or entity. This was created in the permanent word. The Quran terms this spiritual being as nafs. These personalities or nufus were put to slumber after the covenant with God in the permanent word. This is referred to in chapter 7 of Quran, verse 172. These nufus or souls are brought from that actual order of existence and attached to the hearts of the physical bodies in the womb of the mothers after around 120 days from conception. Moral concepts, aesthetical concepts, and mathematical concepts, they all relate to this actual personality, the spiritual being, the soul. But we should always keep in mind that our test in this life is confined to the moral concepts only. We are not under test with regards to the other two concepts, that is, aesthetical concepts and mathematical concepts. My friends, I will conclude by saying that it is absolutely important for us to have a very clear concept of God and of ourself, because these are the two master keys of understanding the grand scheme of God. Unless we know what God is and unless we know what we are, this subject will always elude us. And I hope that we all spend enough time to know ourselves and our Creator, our amazing God. Thank you.